Brand story. The idea behind that is very much the concept that every individual is a hero to their own story. No matter what happens, you are the hero. Whether you are young, whether you are old, whether you are a startup, whether you're progressive, there's nothing, absolutely nothing outside of that. It doesn't lead you to what you desire to be or what you desire to be. So it all lies in your will. Your will is your drive. Your will is your navigator to what it is that you gotta be ultimately. How willing are you to be the hero of your story? And how much can you lead yourself to understand the value of what it is and what it is that's important pertaining to you? Now, this does not in any way negate the point that or suggest otherwise, that you are not going to face adversity or setbacks. But at the same time, it also says that along the way to your destination or to your destiny or your realization, your true self needs to be number one. So, who guides you in your story? And who is your Mr. Miyagi in this whole story? Now, when I mention Mr. Miyagi, I am profoundly just referring to the Karate Kid. Some might know the movie, some might not. But the movie itself, especially the last one, is of the young boy who actually um, becomes bullied and etc. and ultimately tries to fight his way through the social misnorms of him moving with his mom to a different environment and cultural differences and backgrounds and all of that. So that's where it is. But what the movie fundamentally teaches for me personally, or the story, is that the power you get over your hurdles is not far off from what you deem to be limited things and the things that you don't believe to be resourceful. The teacher doesn't use the person or doesn't give them something that is so far off tactics and tricks and ways in which to teach him karate, but he uses the simplest and the most finite things that are totally accessible to us, his jacket. And so that's where it is, that the limited things that you think are not resourceful are the things that are going to get you where you want to be and what it is that you want to feel. Now, the true brand story understanding underpins and anchors the idea that it is your story. It doesn't have to look like someone else's story. It doesn't have to feel like someone else's story. It doesn't have to have all the guidance and all the setbacks similar to yours. It just has to have a print, a woven thread, a woven golden thread of your own. And to be honest with you, is that what better way to really dilute the concept of your own story right now in this day and age than when we are so exposed to social media and how people live their lives and how it is that they go about their own business and how it is that they succeed. It is difficult, I understand, and therefore it's very much easy for us to want to make the stories that we find, the stories that we see, the stories that we have as similar as possible to the ones that we believe are succeeding and the ones that are doing well. It's difficult, it's understandable that that's where it's at, but it doesn't have to be that way. One of the books that I read is the Seventh Habits of Highly Successful People, and there's a story that is there, and it says, which I'm gonna ask if you don't mind, for us to just take a pause and do this exercise. Wherever you are, if you're watching, please do it. I'm gonna ask you to please close your eyes. close your eyes, shut out all the noise outside of you or around you, and just close your eyes and just pause. Think. Try to find a spot in your mind in the corner of the room, wherever you are, and just imagine you walking into a church and you see a coffin in front of the church. People are sad in the pews as you walk down the aisle of the church, and you walk towards the coffin, and you actually go up to the coffin and you realize that the person who's dead is you. Then your next step would be for you to sit back and watch how the service proceeds. Then the question is, for every speaker that's going to speak at your funeral, what would you want them to say? As you've closed your eyes and you imagine that, and you think about what it is that you want them to say, those are the things that you need to focus on. Those are the qualities as an individual you need to stress and really focus on. Were you great? Were you kind? Were you a villain? Were you conniving? Were you generous? Were you grand in your approach? You didn't excuse anything. Who were you? Those critical questions that you ask yourself as your eyes are closed and about to open are the things you need to focus on. So the moment you open your eyes, understand that now that's how you rewrite your brand story. That's exactly how you become a better person, instead of you trying to be something that you think you are, but you're actually not. And that's very much critical. It's very much important for you to look at that, because the truth is, this eliminates where you started and where you are. Everyone has a story, and I'll try my best to prove that in the future with this channel. I want to prove it to you that everybody has a story. There's just some things and ideas I have in my mind of how to go about it, so we'll have an opportunity to do so. So some in life, in their stories, see an opportunity to grow and learn and thrive from their story. Some have seen it as a failure. Some have, which will look at it as having limits and opportunities that are just not there. But every single person in their own story, it's an opportunity to come to a point where you're saying, I'm going to become this, and I'm not going to hesitate to become what it is that I want to be. And that's the point about it, right? It's literally the point that you can't be a person that, if you choose to thrive or you choose to make it as a failure, in both instances somebody made a decision or a choice, uncoerced, because we can all debate how your circumstance is favorable versus the other. Some might say otherwise, but at the crux of it, we all decide what we want to do. So you have to make a decision of what it is that you want to thrive for. You have to make a decision of what it is that you want to engage in, so that you can become what you want to be. So because we talk about marketing concepts, I have to be practical. So recently, ABSA, one of the South African banks, did or is running a campaign about basically story branding. They're using people in their own stories, and they understand that to bring it into marketing, to make you realize that as an institution and as a bank, we are willing to make sure that we focus on what it is that is your story, and try to meet our brand and our products to align it to the various segments of people with different stories or of people with different backgrounds. which I find fascinating and very amazing that they jumped onto that. And I think it'll grab some success. We'll see on that. But just a shout out to APSA on that campaign where they're focusing on how people are in their respective places. And I realized that they didn't just release and launch the campaign limited to South Africa, but because they also want a footprint in Africa, they did that as well. Because by and large, we all have stories. In fact, Africans are known to be storytellers. So it's really amazing to see how branding and companies and can get to that point where they integrate those things. You'll see them everywhere, whether you're driving on the M1 in Johannesburg, on your TV, social media. Just have a look out on that. You'll be able to see that. They didn't pay me for me to plug this, but yeah, it's just me observing. I'm an observer, and I think I'm just appreciating what it is that they are doing, and which is really important. And I think in the part two, I always promise part twos of these talks, but I'll really focus on that. One of the part twos I want to do is that I want to focus on the concept of thriving and survive, because as a consumer, as a person who purchases things, you're only moved by two things in the same premise of brand story, either to thrive and survive. Why do you get what you get? You get this either for those two reasons. You want to thrive in a relative way that you see to be very much important. So we'll look into that. But apart from that, just my parting was that before you choose to be kind to others, just try to be kind to yourself first. You are the source of that kindness. And understand that your setback isn't the destination, it isn't where you are. It is a way to where you're going. It is a way to which you get to your destiny. And lastly, that the idea that we know everything, understand, friends and people, that it is a killer. Because the more we believe we know everything, it limits us to accepting that we don't, and therefore opening up our hearts to and our minds for us to be guided and to be mentored to where we need to be. So with all love and appreciation, guys, your brand story is important, and understand that it does, absolutely does, have a purpose to anybody, to everybody's walk of life, whether from the small to the greatest. Everybody's story matters. And so with all love, yeah man, till the next one. Cheers.